Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Karen Hardy, and welcome to Flip This Risk podcast, where we interview high achievers about their relationship with risk-taking and how it influences their leadership resiliency. You can find out more at flipthisriskpodcast.com. And today, I'm very excited to have my guest, Barrie Burren, co-authors of the new book, Flip This Risk for Enterprise Security, now available on Amazon. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So I'm a little curious to know that, when you heard that the book you contributed to reached #1 on the Amazon Hot New Release list, and then number 71 on the top 100 list in corporate governance, what was your reaction to that news?
I was over the moon and just really grateful for you, Dr. Hardy. I mean, your support to line this all up and to bring together this incredible cohort of women. I should say I'm not at all surprised, but it still kind of sneaks up on you in the best way to know that other people are receiving it as intended.
Have you known each other and the other women before this project, even though you're in the same industry?
Sure. So Rachel and I met nearly a decade ago through work. I have admired her business continuity and emergency management expertise ever since. If there's ever something I want to know about, or I want to kick ideas around with someone, it's Rachel. So naturally, I'm thrilled she's part of this book. But Dr. Hardy, I have to say, I put my head in my hands and I realized that my chapter follows Rachel. That is a tough act to follow. I mean, even the title of her chapter is catchy. And Rachel's just not only incredible in the professional space, but personal as well. And I've had the pleasure of meeting a couple other women authors as well. Not to the point where, I'm calling them up on every weekend like Rachel, but I've just been greatly impressed by in my earlier interactions and throughout the creation of this book, the process of getting to know them as well.
So Barrie, you wrote a chapter on executive protection. And I really love the way your chapter starts out on page 25 when you say, what is executive protection? It is more than men in suits and sunglasses and earpieces. And I immediately started thinking about Men in Black.
Yes.
Okay, it's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about that. But what is executive protection and why is it important?
Sure. So I think that the best place to start with that is that you don't have to be an executive or protecting an executive to really benefit from executive protection. So it's really about identifying and mitigating risks. And I think really the biggest takeaway from the chapter is that you cannot pre-identify and mitigate all risks. It's impossible. So some people really unfortunately sit back and they think, well, if I can't do it all, I'm not going to do any of it. And making that decision is really a disservice, because whether you're an executive or you're just, one of us who are lovely, important people in our own right, but maybe not swarmed by people on a daily basis, many of the principles are the same. It's really just about being aware and planning for likely scenarios. In the chapter, I go in a bit to say that it's not necessarily planning for the Hollywood scenario, is great as movies that those make. We really need to prepare for things like getting a flat tire in a bad neighborhood, or if you know that you or someone you're protecting has a medical condition, making sure that you have the medications and equipment necessary. So start by planning for the more expected risks, because those are more likely to emerge. Of course, as you have the time and other resources to go above and beyond, do so. But don't fool yourself into thinking that you can plan for absolutely everything.
I love the way when you say in the book that when the question is who can apply this, you say that anyone can be subject to a safety or security threat. That's why planning and taking common sense security precautions is very important. It's good to have awareness, right?
Absolutely. The situational awareness is key. If you say you have everything in your pack, both, physically and just mentally, but if you're disengaged, if you're walking through the streets on your phone, you're really, again, just putting yourself at a greater risk, because people could see that you are, you're not ready, and then you're delaying your response time. So I know it's a bit overdone, but that ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. It certainly applies to executive protection as well.
Well, as I said before, pandemic has taken all of those a lot of those, isms and made them real. It's not cliche at all. We find that in reality, it really is true, right? We need to be ready for these things. So why do you think this book and this book right here, why do you think this book is so important for the industry at this particular time?
I think that people are, because of the pandemic, starting to see that the unthinkable really can happen. And I think this book is so valuable because you want to learn more about a topic or all of these topics, but it can be a bit intimidating. How do you really get started? So maybe you invest in a 500-page book to learn annuity, but we're busy people, so we may not get through all of it. So I think that this book does a great job of hitting on a lot of topics and putting it together in a way that you can walk away knowledgeable after a short piece on it. So I think we've made the topics approachable and pertinent to all, and no better time than now to start improving our awareness and applying what's shared.
That is fantastic. You're absolutely right. All those things are relevant at this particular point in time, especially within the industry. And you absolutely can sit down in one sitting and read this book within less than 90 minutes. And I am not a security management professional, but by reading your work, I learned a lot about security management. I'm in risk management, but understanding that particular risk and how critical it is, the vastness of the risk and how they need to be managed. So we're going to wrap up right now. Any last words that you want to leave with everyone, Barrie?
Sure, absolutely. I think I get into this a little bit in the chapter, but some bonus content for those who've tuned into the podcast. More is not necessarily always better with executive protection, or really most types of security. If you think about it from a home security standpoint, if you were to be the house that has all the flashing lights and fancy gates and everything on it, and none of your neighbors have that, you're going to stand out and create a higher risk profile. People are going to wonder what's in that house that they want to protect. So certainly you don't want to have too little, but we almost need to take a Goldilocks approach of finding what's just right, because too much can give a false sense of security, and also it can increase the risk profile. So I think that's closing thought on the executive protection front.
That's a good point. I never thought about the flashing light of the house standing out from everybody else.
Right? Wouldn't you wonder, like, what do they have in there?
I would. I really would.
Otherwise, if you're just kind of blending in with everyone else, there's no reason to think there's anything special in there.
Good
Same
point.
with individuals at times, for those who may not be on the front page of magazines, but they may be high net worth or have other attributes that could make them more vulnerable. So again, kind of similar to what I shared in the book, it doesn't mean you need 10 people surrounding them. A few will probably do, and less can be more, certainly from an optics perspective as well.
Just being a part of this project and experience, has it done anything for you professionally versus before you were involved in the project?
Confidence, for sure. When you're sitting down, putting pen to paper, you start to realize, wow, I do know a lot about this topic. I actually have something worth sharing. And there's so much. The intent was to keep this concise. And I think that everyone did a brilliant job of that. But you start to realize I could go on and on. There's so much to share, and it helps you kind of catalog your career and everything you've learned along the way. So that was really special. Additionally, it reminded me how much I enjoy writing. So Dr. Hardy, I am going to certainly keep you in mind in the future, and I hope you'll do the same. I don't think we're done here. I think there's more.
Oh yeah, we're just starting. We're just the tip of the iceberg, as they say. Again, congratulate you. Not everyone that signed up finished or crossed the finish line, but you did. So there's people who wish for things to happen, and then there are those people who make things happen. You're definitely in that group of people. And I want to thank everyone for watching and joining us today on Flip This Risk podcast. I'm Dr. Karen Hardy, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you.